part of the title for this presentation today was Technology Projects. But what I'm going to propose to you today is that anyone who works in and around business does project work or interfaces with a project team. It's just how businesses run their businesses today. So basically, project management is a part of what everybody does every day, whether it is in or out of a business setting. You know, an example is the picture on the left-hand side. These are men who are on a missions team in Honduras. They're building a house together, but in order to build that house, they have to identify a plan, they have to identify what steps to take, and they have to communicate and work as a team together. The baby in the upper right-hand corner, project management is a part of her daily life. Her mother is on a schedule possibly to get her out the door every day to childcare. So there's a schedule for eating breakfast, what time she gets up, eating breakfast, putting her shoes on, brushing her teeth, and yes, probably the night before they put her backpack by the door. So identifying scope, what has to be done, schedule, how long it will take and over what duration, and budget, what will it cost, is a part of everyday life, i.e. project management. These are the triple constraints that PMI talks about. Let's go back historically and just put this in a little bit of context. Traditional project management, which project management, I will posit to you, is a discipline. It's not really a field that universities do more than certification in. Not many universities have degree programs in project management, so the definition of project management as a discipline that is couched now globally with certifications was really just the inception formally in about the 1960 to 1985 time frame. And what that meant at the time was very reactionary. There's not enough money to plan to do something right the first time, but then how much rework did project teams have to go back and redo because they didn't do that planning and organization up front. And then even continuing as project management became more integrated into the Fortune 500 companies, into business in general, and even nonprofits, the way they operate. We called that the Renaissance period because that was still organic, or that was still reactive project management. But project plans were more organic. They were fed, they breathed, they grew, and they changed as things came up within the evolution of the life cycle. And then today, or not today, I'll say, modern project management was 1993 to, I'm going to say, about the mid-2010s, because in the last 2 or 3 years we've been seeing another shift that we'll talk about in a minute. So during the modern project management era, it was more proactive management. Bring your project's problems to the surface and we will help you. But more often than not, if someone was on a project team or in a corporate culture where they got dinged for doing something wrong, it created an environment of fear. So folks were burying the problem because their job could be in jeopardy. So I was here for a minute, and when I do this presentation live in person, I do an exercise at this point. And what I'd like you to do is maybe close your eyes or visualize having one person come to the front of the room where they have a 2x4 plywood board, 2 nails, and a hammer. And the requirement, and they also have the options of string and tape. And the requirement is attach the nails to the board. Requirement for the type or size of nail, how far apart it should be secured into the board, or how far apart should be nailed into the board, etc. Now, according to PMBOK, the standard definition of their definition of project is a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. And project management, according to PMBOK, is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirements. So we also have to remember that project managers work in an ever-changing environment. The environments are where uncertainty abounds, but often in technology departments, it is a technical manager, somebody who was a former developer, did well, and moved into a project manager role. So might be, from a talent management perspective, is that really the right fit? Because as management evolves, there are knowledge areas and there are processes, and there has to be an understanding of inputs, process, and outputs, which provide efficiencies and ultimately, in a mature organization, repeatability. I said it a few minutes ago, and triple constraints, scope, schedule, and budget to the rescue. But these scope, schedule, and budget, those constraints really address a tactical way to manage projects. And often, projects have a high failure rate. Is monitoring, controlling projects during execution enough? Because remember, every project is like a snowflake. It's unique. We have projects of varying sizes and complexities, and all of the environments within which we're working are different and constantly changing, especially when we're working across entities and we have other partners where their company may or may not have the same culture as ours. So now we're going to pause for a minute and do the second step of the exercise that I had first identified with the board. Now we have a board, 3 nails, a hammer, and 2 people. And the requirement is attach all nails to the board using a hammer. So there's a repeatable process in that we learned from the first attempt that we didn't want to use yarn and we didn't want to use tape to secure the nails to the board. We're now using a hammer because that really digs the nails into the board and they become the most secure. But in order to identify that process improvement and in order to work as a team, what did those 2 people have to do? They needed to communicate, to work as a team. They needed to identify what worked, what did not work. They would document that and then save those notes or lessons learned in a repository. They would report their progress and then possibly enter a process improvement to say the best way to nail a hammer and to secure nails to a board is by using a hammer. So, and this fact comes from 2008. Well, these facts come from 2012 and 2008, but project management as a field has stayed fairly static over the last 5 to 8, maybe even 10 years. And so these facts, although they might seem to be old, really still apply. McKinsey did a study with the University of Oxford that indicated, on average, large IT projects run 45% over budget and 7% over time while delivering 56% less value than predicted. And then IBM, long known to be a technology giant, only 40% of projects met schedule, budget, and quality goals, and the biggest barriers to success were listed as, guess what? People factors. Changing mindsets and attitudes, 58%. What about the corporate culture at almost 50%? And then lack of senior management support, 32%. Have you ever